everybody, welcome to the United Stand. Manchester United 1, Brentford 1 at Brentford, but it doesn't tell the story, does it? I mean, I could list off so many analogies about this. Manchester United absolutely dominated by Brentford. That game should have been 4-0 again. They absolutely deserved to win it, and I've got to say from the start, Brentford deserved to win that game. Miraculously, Manchester United do it again. We get a late goal and you think, oh my God, 3 points, top 5. The scam is still alive. We could still scam this top 5. And then, you know, despite Brentford having 94 minutes of hitting more wood than a bloody carpenter, they instantly equalise as soon as we score. It's incredible. I mean, we almost pulled off the ultimate fraud. You know, we almost scammed the ultimate thing. It's like having an affair, isn't it? It's like having an affair and you nearly get away with it. You break up with them and say, I'm going back to my family now. And then you send a message saying it was great sex though, but you've sent it to your wife. You know, you've done yourself when you've got away with it. It makes absolutely no sense what I've just watched. And I'd rather it had finished 0-0 and we'd been absolute shit like we were than to actually fucking flirt with us and go, we're going to win it. We're going to win it. We've scammed it. And then within seconds, they go up the other end and they win it. I mean, I just don't get it. I do not get it. Look, there's a lot to be spoken about Ten Hag. You know me. I don't believe the manager should get sacked. I think, again, we've seen again tonight why we need a massive clear out. But there are issues that need calling out. And I will call Ten Hag out because if I don't, then who will? And what I mean like that is, obviously there's a lot of people that will call him out, but I'm pro Ten Hag. And I think it's more powerful when you actually do back the manager and you call him out for the issues. I think player power at that football club is clearly an issue. I've always known it's an issue, but it's a massive issue. Absolutely huge. But look, on the equaliser first, before we talk about that, you scam a goal. You're very, very lucky. And it was a very good finish by Mason Mount, but you scam a goal. Brentford should have been 4-0 up. They couldn't hit the fucking ocean from a boat. We score a goal. We're in stoppage time. You've got 3 minutes to defend and we concede instantly. And why do we concede? Because we cannot pick up the runners. It's been going on for 5 years. It was the same with Jose. It was the same with Ollie. We don't know how to mark anybody in the box. We've got no idea what we're doing. And we're so slow. I mean, you watch that goal back. We've got about 5 players marking the 6-yard line. There's no Brentford player there. They're all on the edge of the box for the cutback. Now, I understand Maguire and Martinez can be on the 6-yard box, but the midfielders have got to cover the cutback, and none of them do. And then when the cutback happens, they don't even move. They're slower than my Aunt Elsie's Zimmer frame. And that is fucking slow because Aunt Elsie's been dead for 10 years and we buried the Zimmer frame with her. It was in the will, but it was slow. It was so fucking slow. It's so bad. We concede so many chances because our midfield is inept. If you haven't got Mainu and Casemiro, it's a fucking waste of time. And that's where I want to go in here. Ten Hag tonight, I don't know what the situation is with injury, but Mason Mount and Christian Eriksen can play midfield. And Casemiro shouldn't be coming on for Mainu. Mainu should be staying on. Scott McTominay was absolute terrible. Terrible waste of time. And he's not getting away with it because he did a bit of a Scooby-Doo fight at the end, passion. He's rubbish. He's absolutely rubbish. It was the reason Brentford had so many chances is because we were playing with 10 men. In fact, we were playing with 9 men. In fact, we could say we were playing with 8 men, but we definitely weren't playing with a full house. And to keep Scott McTominay on, I was sort of like, I was trying to think why. Why were we keeping him on? We didn't have any chances in the box for him to score. They weren't really whipping crosses in for his height. He's completely and utterly useless. He's like a pair of glasses on a bloke with one ear. Like, he can't tackle. He's slow. He never picks up the runners. I don't know why he stayed on. That's the first one with Ten Hag. I'm absolutely clueless as to why he kept Scott McTominay on. No idea at all. It was almost sabotage, to be honest with you. But the second one, and I'm going to say this with all of my heart, I love Bruno Fernandes, but this is what you get when you don't do player FC and you don't put anybody ahead of what's important, which is the club. Everybody, from Gary Neville to David Beckham, used to get called out if they had a bad game. even in the good old days. If you had a bad game, you got to front up, right? Nobody should be protected. So, what I am absolutely baffled about tonight, and to be honest, pretty much since Christmas, is that the most important player on the pitch is the number 10. They dictate the attack. The ball goes through them. They are the focal point. They are the conductor. When you look at Kevin De Bruyne, when you look at Odegaard, when you look at Maddison for Spurs, they are the focal point of the attack. They dictate the attack. Bruno Fernandes tonight was absolutely terrible. Redundant. Rubbish. 3 times he had a shot from miles out. It's disrespectful to the rest of the team. It's disrespectful to Rasmus or McTominay or anybody else that's made a run into the box. So he's disrespectful in what he does in that role. And on top of that, he couldn't fucking pass wind. He was awful. And he's admitted himself in the international break that he is not playing well. So riddle me this. Forget the fucking toxic agendas. Forget Player FC. I love Bruno Fernandes. I think so much of what he does embodies what we need. But he hasn't played well this season and he's been terrible since Christmas. So tell me this. In a game we have to win against Brentford, where we're absolutely getting slaughtered, why would you stand there on the touchline and keep Bruno Fernandes on? Why would you not go, I've got 2 number 10s on the bench. I've got Christian Eriksen and I've got Mason Mount. And I will tell you this. It doesn't matter whether you play FIFA or you've never coached in your bloody life. If you take Bruno off and you put Eriksen on, the game will change. Because they're completely different number 10s. And if you take Bruno off and you bring Mount on, the game will change because they're completely different number 10s. Now, it might get worse. I don't know how that can happen, but it might get worse. But it might get better. What I do not understand is why, for the last few months, we refuse to make that change. Even when he's playing badly, we refuse to make that change because we're waiting for a moment. But it's madness. Because if you take Bruno off with 20 minutes to go and you put Eriksen on, we might play better. Or if you bring Mount on, we might play better. Why persist with something that's not working when you have to win the game? And I don't understand this because I said it in the watch along. I've seen Jurgen Klopp take Mo Salah off with 25 minutes to go, and Mo Salah has been kicking chairs, kicking bottles, fuming because he doesn't want to get taken off. And Jurgen Klopp has not given him a second look. Because he's the boss. He runs that football club. And the next game, Salah's back playing. But I detect that if Erik ten Hag takes off Bruno Fernandes, he's scared. I detect that when he takes Rashford off, he's scared. And I detect that there is a player power at that football club that Ineos need to break down. Because it's bloody embarrassing that we have got players in our team that do not get subbed off. Because nobody should be above being subbed off when they're not playing well. And at Manchester United, it happens all the time. There seems to be a fear of subbing certain players off. And I'll tell you for free, if that's the case, then Ineos need to do something about it. Because we've had player power at this club before. And if it still exists, this is why where we are. If somebody doesn't play well, they should be taken off. And at United, it seems to me that it's all about convenience. Like, oh, I can take Garnacho off because he's 19. I can take Mainu off because he's 18. But I can't take Bruno off because he's the captain and he's been here for years. And I don't really want to take Rashford off before Garnacho because it's Marcus Rashford. There is a player power here because it's the only excuse I can think of. And yeah, I'm just really confused by it. And I wanted to get that out at the start because people say, you never blame Ten Hag. And I'm not blaming Ten Hag tonight. I'm just saying that, you know, what I really blame is a shambolic disgrace of a performance by a set of players that have let this fan base down time after time, year after year. I mean, it's a fact. But what I have to say is that Erik ten Hag doesn't come out of it without any criticism. His substitutions were baffling. I felt sorry for Martinez. He's clearly not fit. Martinez should not have been on the bench tonight, but he's probably there because we've got nobody else. He was not match fit at all, and maybe Casemiro the same. So I'm not going to have a pop at Martinez and Casemiro because I think if they're fit, they play. But yeah, the substitutions were weird, and I worry about Man United for the rest of the season because there's absolutely no way that Bruno and Rashford won't start against Chelsea. And they've had more chances than a cat. They've had more lives than a cat. They shouldn't start. They shouldn't be starting. I just don't get it. And I'm curious, like Livewire Red says, I'd be curious to know what Ineos are thinking watching that game of football, because Sir David Brailsford is all about elite sport performance. And that is, you know, I'm looking at certain players, they're nowhere near. So I'd be looking at the manager and saying, why aren't you taking them off? Why have you got 2 number 10s on your bench, but you won't take Bruno Fernandes off and he's playing crap? Eric, I want to know the answer. Are you being bullied? Do you need help? Like, why won't you do it? Why won't you do it? Lanat says, call out Garnacho. Yeah, I'd love to call out a 19-year-old who is part of our future, who got subbed off really early. I really think I should be calling Garnacho out. I don't know why I hadn't thought of that one. Maybe I should call Mainu out as well. Maybe I should call Rasmus out as well. Maybe I should call out these youngsters who clearly give everything but didn't have a good game today. Yeah. They've only just come into the United setup and haven't been shitting all over that badge for years. Come on, grow the fuck up. Mark, this team do not deserve Champions League. Well, we're not getting it. We're not getting it, mate. It's gone. It's gone. Mbod says, Mark shamelessly backs Ten Hag. Well, here we go. People who don't listen to the show, he's given a super chat. Let's read it. We certainly have better players than Brentford, says Aditya. Eric Ten Hag is not able to set us up properly and solve the midfield problem. It's open all the time. Mbod says, solely intent on proving his correctness, even if it means jeopardising Manchester United despite nearing 2 years. We still have a... Mate, you've not listened to the last 5 minutes, so I've got nothing to say. You couldn't have written a better script in the last 2 minutes of extra time. Disgraceful, says James. I can't understand if Man United are a good team with occasional blunders or a bad team with occasional blinders. I'd go with the latter one, Niche. How the club can say that Bruno, Rashford and McTominay aren't for sale is a joke. They were by far the worst players on the pitch. Well, mate, I don't know how often all of you watch the United Stand. We're live every night at 8 o'clock. Subscribe. I said it on the show 2 weeks ago that I was told from an A-star source that McTominay, Bruno and Rashford are not for sale. And I was told that at the start of March. That's not on the manager. That's not coming from the manager. That's coming from whoever's running the football side of things. So how do you think that... All I'm going to say is we can moan about the manager and we can certainly moan about the players, but let's not pretend that this new ownership is some fucking saviour. If they're doing stuff like that and they're being linked to Gareth Southgate, I'm terrified about our future. Absolutely terrified about it. I mean, because it's more of the same. Doesn't matter who the manager is. If you're still going to pick Scott McTominay and allow Bruno to put performances in like that and not sub him, and allow Rashford to put performances in like that and not sell him, then what's going to change? Doesn't matter what. Bring Southgate in. Give it to De Zerbi. I couldn't give a fuck. I really couldn't. Nothing's going to change when you're going to keep players at the club who, you know, or keep them in the team. Rashford at McTominay can't be starting again, says John. We had countless false dawns, turned this season around wins, only to go into the next game with their tail stuck between their legs, says Mud. Scooby-Doo, where are you, says Sean. We have something for them. And Anna said pre-game, well, that was quite something, says Delicate Official. How has McTominay stole a wage for so long, says Snickers. Smash and grab win. What tools? 5 minutes still to play due to the injury before 90 minutes, says Ray. Cuba says, watching McTominay and Rashford play makes my blood boil. Useless going ways, says Cuba. Look, a lot of people in the chat are talking about how do you go from the Liverpool game to that. But I did say after the Liverpool game, Liverpool should have killed us in the second half. We were shit in the second half and we were 2-1 down. Liverpool should have killed us off in the second half. And Premier League games only last for 90 minutes. And in extra time, it was chaos football. We had Bruno Fernandes playing at centre-back. Said it after the win. Brilliant win. Amazing atmosphere. One of the greatest games I've seen United playing in a long time. But it's got nothing to do with the Premier League because you can't play Bruno at centre-back with Maguire in the Premier League and play 6 forwards. You've got to go back to a system. And when we go back to a system, we've seen it against Fulham. Nobody's scared of us. They'll keep passing through us. We bottled it. And, you know, Villa have beaten Wolves. Spurs have beaten Luton. We've bottled it against Brentford. Look, I did say before the game, no team has won away today out of 7 games after an international break. It happens a lot. A lot of teams have a hangover away from home. But the fixture list is the fixture list. It's not a surprise. Shocking performance from Manchester United. Do you think there's a clause in Bruno's contract saying that he can't be substituted for Farzi? No, I don't think there is. I think there's a fear that if you upset Bruno or Rashford or a senior player, he's probably on thin ice as a manager and he'll lose his job. So I think player power still runs that football club, honestly. And I just don't see any other reason why you wouldn't change it. I love Bruno. I like Rashford. You know, I don't really have a problem with any player apart from their performance on the pitch. But no player should be above being subbed. And Ten Hag has to be criticised. Of course he does. I mean, I'd love to know, you know, even when Mount scored and they cut to the bench, they were like, I felt embarrassed. McLaren and Ten Hag and Van der Gaag were like hugging. And I felt embarrassed because I thought, you can't take anything from that game as a coach. Like, you can't walk into the dressing room and say the plan worked. You know, they've smashed wood more times than a fucking woodpecker. Like, we can enjoy it as fans because Man United have won, but you can't walk in that dressing room as a player or a manager and say, what a great result, the plan worked. I mean, it was a scam. It was a win if we'd won, it was a scam. Even a draw is a scam. Like, we don't deserve a point. We don't deserve a point. We were terrible. Absolutely terrible. Look, if you want to sack the manager, go for it. If Ineos sack the manager, go for it. I wouldn't do that. You know I wouldn't. But I don't really have any power. Obviously, I don't have any power, and I don't really give a shit, to be honest. If they sack Ten Hag, they sack him. If they keep him, great. But more interestingly, I'm starting to believe that Ineos aren't what we think they are. I really don't think they are. I just don't. I'm very worried about some of the stuff I'm hearing. I'm very worried that Bruno, McTominay and Rashford are not for sale. I'm very worried that we're being linked to Potter and Southgate. You know, I don't think the future's bright for Manchester United. I hope to get proved wrong, but I don't think the future's bright. I'm not convinced that Dan Ashworth is the be-all and end-all. I mean, God, he's made some mistakes as well. But, yeah, Villa and Spurs deserve top 4 or 5, and we deserve fuck all because these players just can't be trusted. We will lose to Chelsea, Liverpool, Newcastle, Arsenal and Brighton if we play like this. We'll be lucky to get Conference League next year. Look, mate, if he loses to Chelsea on Thursday, he will definitely lose to Liverpool. He could be gone in a week. Look, here's your takeaway. Before we do the player ratings, just dropped into my head, and I will say it. That team performance today had the air of a team that's been away on international duty, had a chat with Southgate and wants to change. You know, it did. And I know they've not all gone to the England camp, but something's changed with that team from the Liverpool game. Like, they played like they want the manager gone today. They did. They played like they want to sack the manager today, which surprised me. I really thought that, you know, there would be some momentum. But they played like that today. Curse of the armband. When someone becomes captain, they fall off a cliff. Quinstar says we will have done that one. Even when Ten Hag makes stubborn decisions, it's player power. It seems like player power has become scapegoat for managers' bad performances to space. McTominay reminds me of Fellaini, says Samuel. Surely it's not it's the owners keeping these players on the pitch. Don't think Ten Hag has a choice. Says Stephen. STG, I can't read that, Ash, and I don't know what it means. What does that even mean? Don't do abbreviations because I'm not good on them. If people like Scott McTominay start next game, I genuinely might stop watching, says Ashen. Why do you think the mentality of the players changed so quick, says Ryan? Well, it's almost like they went away and then came back with a different mentality. Ahmad saved us against Liverpool. The subs were crap then, says Jehan. Spurs have got an extremely tough schedule coming up. Despite this horrendous performance, I still believe... Oh, mate, absolutely no chance killing. We're not winning at Chelsea if we can't beat Brentford. They'll batter us. Do you think there's done that one there? Brentford, last 6 games, 5 losses, says Sherlock. We're not making top 5. No, John, I agree with that. I've just got to read this super chat here. John says, you're scared to call out these players because you're scared to lose the content opportunities like interviews. Rashford and Brand I'm sorry, like there's probably about 41,000 interesting people watching this show, and then there's John Patrick who's just not listening. Like, I don't know what you know, John, what have you been listening to for the last 20 minutes? Take your headphones off. What do you mean scared to call people out? I've just spent 5 minutes calling out the captain of the fucking club and McTominay. Like, what are you on about? I'm not calling out Mainu, Rasmus and Garnacho. If you want to go after kids, that's up to you. I'm not calling them out. They're our future. They didn't play well, but they're not the problem. The problem at this club is the people who've been here for years and consistently do this. Like, we've got Maguire and Lindelof at centre-back still. McTominay's still in the fucking midfield. Like, I'll call out what I think needs calling out, but I ain't going to sit here saying sell Rasmus or sell Garnacho. Have a fucking break, mate. Come on. I know we're angry, but come on. Come on. Anyway, let's do the player ratings. Make sure you get involved. Mark every player out of 10, 6 being the average. This club's going to kill me. I can feel my fucking heart. Oh, God. My God. I can't speak. Look, this is going to be really hard. It's going to be harder than the wood Brentford smashed. Right, let's go. Onana, man of the match, 6. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant double save. Absolutely brilliant double save. I think Onana has a weakness, getting down low, and he made a really good double save, so I'd give him a 6. Why am I not giving him a 7? Because I thought he was fucking shit in the first half on coming for crosses, and I still think he is. I don't think he's flawless. I still think there's a lot of holes in his game, but I'll give him man of the match. He was the best of a bad bunch. I think 6.5 is probably about right, but he made a couple of good saves, definitely. Dalot, by his standards, was a 5 today for me. Yeah, it was below. It wasn't average. He was below average, so that's a 5. Varane, I'd give a 6. Up until he went off, I thought he was playing really, really well. Another injury. I mean, look, there's no excuse here. There's absolutely no excuse here. I'm not using an excuse. But another game, another 2 injuries. Lindelof and Varane. 1 game, 2 injuries. It's just incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Lindelof, I'd give a 6 as well. I thought he did quite well. Yeah, Wan-Bissaka struggled today, below 5, below average 5. He got better in the second half, but he looked nothing like he did against Liverpool. Nothing like he did against Liverpool. Again, all I can say is it felt to me that like the players just decided to do something different against Brentford. Everything they had against Liverpool, all the praise, all the momentum, it's almost like they got together and said, we might be keeping this manager in a job. We need to drop it down a level. It was weird. Really weird. Spot On says these players must go. Same story. And again, it's laughable. Ten Hag in What a Depressing Show. Says Spot On. And don't understand it. Eric Ten Hag's supposed to be a good coach, but we keep playing shit regardless of who's playing. Says Sergey. Mainu, probably give him a 6 today. It wasn't his best game, but he shouldn't have been subbed off. And I think if he'd stayed on the pitch with Casemiro, we'd have got hold of that midfield. I mean, we lost the midfield whole game. McTominay, 3. I mean, just I don't get it. I don't get how he played 90 minutes again. And it's not the first time. And that's on the manager. The player was shit, but that's on the manager. Why is he staying on the pitch for so long? Absolutely terrible. Bruno Fernandes, I'd have given him a 3. I'll give him a 3. I mean, again, like, I like Bruno. I don't like McTominay as a player. I never have. I don't like the player. I don't think he's good enough to be in a Man United shirt. I think we should sell him. I like Bruno. And look, there's your agenda. Both get a 3. I don't rate McTominay, but I do rate Bruno. Both get a 3 because I can't be arsed to do Player FC anymore. It gets us nowhere. I really like Bruno, but it's just an abysmal performance. Absolutely ill-disciplined, abysmal, bad passing, bad shooting, just absolutely abysmal. And I can't say anything more than that. Why don't we play like Brentford, says Bjorn. Look, forget the chances. It was like watching snails play against cheetahs. They were so quick. All game. They were so quick to the ball. They were so aggressive. They absolutely devoured us. It was embarrassing. It was absolutely embarrassing. And look, it was terrible from Bruno. Garnacho, probably give him a 4 today. Didn't play very well. Probably deservedly got hooked. But look, he wasn't the only one. He wasn't the only one. But having said that, Rashford, I would have took off first. You know, he is not 19. He is not developing. When you have a young player, They will never be consistent. There's never been a young player that's been consistent I can remember, apart from probably Lionel Messi. Like, you're always going to have dips. They're always going to have ups and downs because they're learning. Marcus Rashford is massively paid into his mid-20s and he's playing like he's 18 again. Like, inconsistent. It's not good enough. It's just not good enough. And also, the problem that Rashford's got is he just doesn't look like he gives a shit. And I know he's done the interview saying, I will question anybody that says that. But question it. But I'd rather you proved us wrong on the pitch. An interview is just words. It looks like you don't care. If that's offensive, fine. Do an interview. Call us out. Whatever. But prove it on the pitch, mate. All we want you to do is score goals. Like, all we want you to do is play well. It looks like you don't care. Like, Bruno's played worse than Rashford tonight. But it looks like Bruno gives a shit. He's just not good enough at the moment. And that's the problem, isn't it? You know, Bruno runs around and you can never say he doesn't. And McTominay runs around and you can never say that they don't. They just both played shit. Rashford was better than McTominay and Bruno today. But he doesn't look like he cares. Rasmus has to be a 4 as well. Look, he never stopped running. But I can't give him a below average. I think he was poor. I think Garnacho was poor. He's in a fucking graveyard shift. And all I'd say to Rasmus is, Ronaldo's been in this position. Cavani's been in this position. Martial's been in this position. It happens. It does. You know, no service. He had that one chance from Bruno, which probably should score. But, yeah, it's a good save by the keeper. Look, Maguire came on and did all right. You know, he came on, he did all right. I'd probably be tempted to give him a 6. I thought Maguire did okay. In the circumstances, Varane's gone off injured. I thought he came on and he did okay. I don't think he did anything I wouldn't expect from Harry Maguire. So I'd give him a 6. Anthony, a 5. Yeah, just nothing. Nothing, really. I mean, he had that stupid shot. Martinez has to be a 5. I mean, he's just not fit. Fair play for coming on. Nowhere near the level he needs to be. He's been out for 3 months. I actually thought Casemiro did okay. I'd give him a 6. I thought he came on and did quite well, Casemiro, actually. Obviously, he got the assist on the goal. Nowhere near match fit either, but I actually thought Casemiro came on and did okay, despite getting swamped like everybody does. You got to give Mason Mount a strong 6.5, haven't you, for the goal? But I wouldn't give him man of the match for it. And then, no, just actually don't brush over that. Fantastic finish. Really good finish on his left foot. The thing I like about Mason Mount is, and the thing I've always liked about Mason Mount is he's unselfish. He'll shoot when he thinks he needs to shoot, but he'll pass when he thinks he needs to pass. And I wish we'd brought him on in the 60th minute from Bruno. Because we might have lost, we might have drawn, but I think we'd have seen a different game. Even Jamie Redknapp on Sky is calling Rashford out now. How bad is he? That says something considering he rarely goes in on players. Well, it needs to be called out, mate, because I don't think Rashford was as bad as Bruno or McTominay. But he definitely doesn't put the effort in that they put in. Either that or he's got a very good way of hiding it. Just everybody I know that likes Rashford say the body language isn't great. We should start 4-2-3-1 and we can't play McTominay. Any ball-playing midfielder in that midfield and we would be decent, says Sheikh. Ten Hag tonight. It's got to be a 5. It's got to be a 5. Below average. I think the players worryingly look like they're downing tools again. And I'm baffled by that. But I've spoken about the players. Let me talk about Ten Hag. Don't understand why McTominay stays on the pitch for 90 minutes. Don't understand why Bruno plays for 90 minutes when he's got Eriksen and Mount who can play that role. Don't understand why he doesn't change it. Don't understand why he takes Mainu off when you could play Mainu and Casemiro and get hold of the midfield. So, yeah, a few weird substitutions. It's not the first time. Did it against Forest, didn't he, at half-time? Took Mainu off, brought McTominay on, conceded 2 goals. So, yeah, not good enough. I'm not Ten Hag out, far from it. But I think with the next 2 games, it won't be me who sacks him. He can sack himself. Like, he has got to grow a pair and start being a manager because he's going to lose the fans by... I mean, it's just so obvious today. It's so obvious today that Bruno needed to come off and he kept him on. and that undermines the manager. Look, people will put up with bad performances if they believe that there needs to be a clear out in the summer and Ten Hag's the guy to do it. But they're not going to believe in a clear out when you don't take players off who deserve to be taken off. And that's where tonight I'm sort of like going, hold on a minute. You back this manager, you want to clear out, and yet you know Bruno, McTominay and Rashford are not for sale. So you want the manager for a clear out, but you know certain players are above being sold already. What clear out are you actually shouting for then? Because if this manager will not take players off that deserve to be subbed off, why would you trust him with the clear out? I'm not Ten Hag out. I'm not close to being Ten Hag out, but I'm massively confused tonight. And we've not lost. I just don't understand what I've just watched. I don't understand why you've got two number 10s who can change the game and change the pattern, and you keep Scott McTominay and Bruno on for 90 minutes. I don't get it. I really don't. And that's just an honest take. Onana got 56% of the vote. He's your man of the match. Actually, Mason Mount came in second with 22% of the vote on that one. So well done there to Mason Mount. It was a very good goal, but Onana keeps us in the game with those two saves. There's no two doubts about it. And he deserves man of the match on what was a shit performance. Look, fan forum's going to be very interesting because you know how much Ricky loves Bruno Fernandes. So I'm sure it's going to be great over there. Take care, everyone. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. Thanks for spending the show with me. I can only praise you for that because it was a horrible, horrible game to watch. And I'll see you over on the fan forum. Take care.